You finally got the promotion you've been working toward for years. The one you told yourself would change everything. The one that would prove you made it, and you felt nothing. Maybe a flicker of relief. Maybe a brief moment of, okay, that's done. But no joy, no pride, no sense of arrival, just emptiness. And within hours, your mind was already moving to the next thing, the next goal, the next mountain to climb, or maybe you finished that project, the one that took months of late nights and sacrifice. Everyone's praising you, telling you how amazing it is, and you're smiling, nodding, saying thank you. But inside, you're already noticing the flaws, already thinking about what you should have done better, already planning the next thing that might finally make you feel something. What's wrong with you? Why can't you just enjoy your wins? Why does every accomplishment feel hollow? Why do you keep achieving things and still feel empty inside? Here's what most people don't understand. This isn't ingratitude. This isn't perfectionism. This isn't even about ambition. This is psychology. Deep, painful psychology that started long before you ever accomplished anything. Let me take you back to where this begins. Because it always begins somewhere. You're young, maybe 7, maybe 10, and you bring home a test. You got a 95, you're proud, excited, you want to share it, but the response you get isn't celebration. It's what happened to the other 5 points. Or maybe it's praise, but only for the achievement, never for you as a person. I'm so proud of you when you do well, not I'm proud of you, not I love you no matter what, but when you perform, when you achieve, when you prove your worth through external validation, and something shifts in your young mind, a silent equation forms. Love equals achievement. Worth equals accomplishment. Being enough means doing enough, so you start chasing. Not because you want to, but because you have to. Because if you stop achieving, maybe the love stops too. Maybe the approval disappears. Maybe you become invisible. This is where it starts. Not with ambition, with survival, with a child learning that their inherent worth isn't enough, that they have to earn the right to exist. Psychologists call this conditional worth, and it doesn't just shape your childhood, it shapes your entire life. Because that child grows up, they become successful, they accomplish things, they check boxes and reach goals, but the satisfaction never comes. Because the wound isn't about achievement, it's about belonging, and no amount of external success can heal an internal wound of not being enough as you are. So let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain, because this pattern isn't just emotional, it's neurological. There are 2 chemicals that matter here, dopamine and serotonin, and understanding the difference between them explains everything about why you can't feel satisfied. Dopamine is the chemical of pursuit. It fires when you're chasing a goal, when you're anticipating a reward. It's what keeps you motivated, driven, focused on the next thing. But here's the problem. Dopamine isn't a satisfaction chemical, it's a seeking chemical. It creates desire, not fulfillment. And once you achieve the thing you were chasing, dopamine drops. The excitement disappears, and you're left feeling empty. Serotonin, on the other hand, is the chemical of contentment. It's what makes you feel satisfied, peaceful, enough. But serotonin requires presence. It requires being here, in this moment, appreciating what is instead of chasing what could be. And if your brain was trained from childhood to always be in pursuit mode, to always be proving your worth through achievement, you never learned how to activate serotonin. You only know how to chase dopamine, so you accomplish something. Dopamine drops. You feel empty, and instead of sitting with that emptiness, instead of learning to find contentment in being rather than doing, you immediately start chasing the next goal, the next hit of dopamine, the next thing that might finally make you feel enough. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, the moving goalpost. No matter what you achieve, your brain adjusts, and suddenly, that achievement isn't enough anymore. You need more, you need bigger, you need the next level. But here's the cruel truth. There is no level where enough finally arrives, because the problem isn't the level, it's the belief system underneath. The belief that your worth is conditional on your productivity. And this belief shows up everywhere in adult life, in patterns you might not even recognize as connected. You accomplish something significant, your brain doesn't let you celebrate. It immediately focuses on what's next. Okay, that's done. Now what? You receive a compliment. It doesn't land. It slides off like water on glass, because deep down you don't believe it, or you think they're just being nice, or you immediately think of all the ways you don't deserve it. You reach a goal you set months ago, and instead of feeling proud you feel fraudulent, like you got lucky, like you tricked everyone into thinking you're more capable than you are. This is imposter syndrome, and it's not about your actual abilities. It's about the deep belief that you're not inherently worthy of success. You struggle to rest. to take a day off, to do nothing without guilt, because rest feels like regression, like falling behind, like wasting the time you should be using to prove yourself. You're praised for being hardworking, driven, successful, but inside, you're exhausted, burned out, running on fumes, because you're not driven by passion. You're driven by the fear that if you stop, you'll be revealed as not enough. You look at your life from the outside and it looks successful, but from the inside, it feels hollow, because you've built everything on achievement, and achievement doesn't know how to love you back. This is what happens when your sense of self becomes tangled with your sense of productivity, when being becomes inseparable from doing, when you is only valid if you is useful. And here's where it gets even more painful. This pattern destroys the very things that could actually bring satisfaction. Relationships suffer because you're never fully present. You're always thinking about work, about the next project, about what you should be doing instead of being here with the person in front of you. Moments of joy get contaminated. You're on vacation, but you can't relax. You're at a celebration, but your mind is elsewhere. You're winning, but you can't feel it, because your nervous system is stuck in achievement mode. It doesn't know how to shift into enjoyment mode. Your body starts breaking down. Stress-related illness, chronic fatigue, insomnia, because you're running a marathon at sprint speed and your body is screaming for you to stop. But you can't because stopping feels dangerous, and the worst part, you start to believe this is just who you are, that you're naturally never satisfied, that you're just ambitious, that this is the price of success. But it's not. This isn't ambition. This is a wound. A deep psychological wound that convinced you that you have to earn the right to exist. So where does this come from? Why do some people develop this pattern while others don't? It starts with how love was given in childhood. Not whether you were loved, but how that love was expressed. Maybe your parents only showed pride when you succeeded. Maybe affection came with conditions. Maybe you learned that being good meant being useful, being quiet, being accomplished. Maybe you had siblings and achievement was the only way to get attention. Maybe your family struggled and you became the hope, the one who had to make it, the one carrying everyone's dreams on your small shoulders. Maybe your parents themselves were never satisfied, so you learned to chase an impossible standard, always reaching for approval that moved further away the closer you got. Or maybe it was more subtle. Maybe no one told you explicitly, but you felt it. The way praise came for achievements, but not for just being. The way love felt conditional, even if no one said it was. Children are brilliant observers. They pick up on the unspoken rules. And if the unspoken rule is that worth must be earned, they'll spend their lives trying to earn it. This is called conditional positive regard in psychology. And it creates adults who are terrified of being ordinary. Because ordinary, to them, means invisible, means not enough, means unworthy of love. But here's what needs to be said, and this is important. You are not broken. You are not ungrateful. You are not too ambitious or too driven or too hard on yourself because there's something wrong with you. You are someone who learned a survival strategy, a strategy that worked when you were young and powerless. Achievement kept you safe. Productivity kept you visible. Success kept you worthy, and that strategy got you here. It got you through. It helped you survive an environment where being wasn't enough, where you had to constantly do to be seen. But you're not in that environment anymore. You're not that child who has to earn love through gold stars and perfect behavior. You're an adult now with the power to choose differently, and that's where the healing begins. Not in achieving more, but in understanding why you can't stop achieving in the first place, because the opposite of constant striving isn't laziness, it's peace. It's the ability to be satisfied, to feel enough, to exist without having to prove your existence. And getting there requires unlearning the deepest lesson you were taught, that your worth is conditional. So what does healing look like? How do you start feeling satisfied when your brain has been wired for perpetual dissatisfaction? First, you have to recognize the pattern, name it, see it for what it is. Not a personality trait, but a coping mechanism. Not ambition, but fear. Not drive, but a wound trying to heal itself through achievement. Second, you practice separating your worth from your productivity. This is hard. This feels dangerous, because for so long they've been the same thing. But you start small. You take a rest day and you don't punish yourself for it. You accomplish something and you pause, even for 5 minutes, to actually acknowledge it before moving to the next thing. You start asking yourself a question that might feel foreign. What would it feel like to be enough right now? Not after the next goal, not once I prove something, but right now, as I am. Third, you reparent the part of you that learned love was conditional. You speak to that child inside who's still trying so hard to be good enough, and you tell them what no one told them then. You don't have to earn this. You are enough because you exist. Not because of what you do, not because of what you achieve, but because you are here, and that is enough. This isn't affirmation work. This is deep psychological healing. This is giving yourself what you needed but didn't receive. And here's the paradox. The beautiful, frustrating paradox. When you stop trying to feel satisfied through achievement, when you start finding worth in being rather than doing, something shifts. You still accomplish things, maybe even more things, but now they come from a different place. Not from fear or emptiness or the desperate need to prove yourself, but from genuine desire, from creativity, from joy. And when you accomplish something from that place, it actually feels good, because you're not looking to the achievement to fill a void it was never meant to fill. You're not asking success to validate your existence. You're just creating, contributing, growing, because that's what alive humans do. Not to become worthy, but because you already are. So if you're someone who never feels satisfied, who accomplishes things and feels nothing, who keeps chasing the next goal hoping this one will finally be enough, I want you to hear this. The satisfaction you're looking for isn't at the top of the next mountain. It's not in the next promotion, the next milestone, the next achievement. It's here, in this moment, in the quiet realization that you are always enough, that the child in you who learned to earn love through achievement was enough before they ever achieved anything, that you don't have to keep proving what was never in question. Your worth is not conditional. It never was. Someone just convinced you it was, and now you get to unlearn that lie, not by achieving more, but by finally, after all this time, allowing yourself to rest, to be, to feel satisfied, not because you did something, but because you are someone, and that someone has always been enough. If this resonated with you, if you recognized yourself in this pattern, you're not alone. This wound is more common than you think, and understanding it is the first step toward healing it. Subscribe for more psychology that explores the hidden patterns shaping your life. Because the goal isn't to fix you. The goal is to understand you, and in that understanding, find freedom.